I'm going to talk about sexism, and I'm going to tell you a lesson that I learned when I was perhaps 10 years old, or maybe 12 years old. First of all, I'm going to start by saying that my mother is an ultra-feminist, and I listened to her feminist ideals my entire childhood. And I have strong disagreements with many of the things that she said. Well, I guess with everything she said. I was the type of person that I believed in equality. I believed that equality meant 50-50, not 100-0, which is what I hear from a lot of people that think about equality. Well, the women should have 100, the man should have 0. You know, the woman should receive from the man. This should be taken from the man and given to the woman. That's what they believe. So the lesson that I learned is that I believe, people are equal. When I was in 4th grade, my teacher was talking about women in the military. I said, as a 4th grader, my opinion, not based on anything that anyone told me, and against the beliefs of everyone in the class and the teacher, was that I believed that women should be allowed to serve in the military as a 4th grader. And my teacher said, no, I don't see Cindy being a jet pilot, fighter pilot. So I'm a moderate person. That is my political belief. I'm very moderate. And I'm not a sexist person. I believe in equality. My personal belief is that most people that claim they believe in equality really don't. They want something to be given to them and taken away from someone else. So the lesson that I learned was that I was grade. I was the captain of a 2nd grade hockey team. And there was one girl on the team. And I had the best player in the league on my team. He was the high scorer. And one of the 2nd best players in the league was also on my team. And I don't remember how I did the roster I had to decide like what kid played in what position. I told him what to go in. But I know I put the good players as center or as goalie. If we were losing, you put a good player in as goalie to stop from losing points. And I didn't really focus. I don't think I focused much on a proper rotation, a fair rotation. As an adult, I know the proper thing to do. If you're going against a bad team that has a history of losing, or you ask the kids, hey, who's a good player? Because the kids know. If you're going up against a bad team, you let the stinky players play the good positions, right? And if you're going up against a good team, you put your best players in the best position. But what I did was I said, okay, she's a girl. She's going to have special privileges. She's going to play goalie, and she's going to play center, and she's going to get to play the great positions, and she sucked at it, and she couldn't do it. She barely knew how to play the game. I don't know why she was in it. She had an older brother who was someone who was in my class, so I knew him. She had a twin sister also, and she sucked. And I said after the game, I said, this was a mistake. I never should have done this. And I learned a lesson in 6th grade. Do not give people responsibilities that they are not qualified for. It will lead to disaster. I'm going to give you some examples of when this has happened. It happened in South Africa with Nelson Mandela. When the African National Congress was elected to lead South Africa, they kicked out all the white people and replaced them with black people to punish them. They believed that it was, to punish the white people and to reward the black people. But what happened is the government couldn't function anymore because the black people didn't know how to do the work. And they literally rehired back the white people to work alongside the black people. So they had 2 people doing every job. And that's what they had to do in South Africa to keep the government running. That's not the way to run a government. You put qualified people in position to run the government. The same happened with Barack Obama. When Barack Obama was elected, most people don't know this. The media covers this up. The CEO of Citibank sent him an email and said, here's a list of diverse people that you can put in positions you can appoint to different positions in government. And there's no white men on the list. And Barack Obama took that list and he appointed all those people to all the positions that they were recommended for with no change. So essentially, Barack Obama's appointees were made by the CEO of Citibank. These people were not picked because of their qualifications. They were picked because they were minorities. And diversity is a word that we use for ethnicity, but people forget that there's a diversity of skill, talent, and experience and knowledge. People forget that. That is what diversity is supposed to be for operating a business. Of these appointees, it was not a success, it was a failure. He appointed a woman to be the first head of the Secret Service, and guess what? She quit. He appointed a woman to be the head of something else, and then after a year, she quit. You know, he appointed Hillary Clinton to, maybe she wasn't the first woman to be Secretary of State, to be Secretary of State. Guess what? She quit. She literally said she did not want to do it. You can look up on the internet, find the quote. I remember when she said it, and she gave up. She did not succeed as Secretary of State. She did not solve the problem with Cuba. She did not solve any problems with North Korea. She did not solve the problem with Syria. She did not solve foreign wars. She didn't solve any problems. There was no major problem that was solved while Hillary Clinton was in office. And it's not a point of the fact that she's a woman. It's a fact that she was not qualified for the position. There are other people who are better qualified for that position. For example, I would pick Colin Powell. I think he was Secretary of State. He makes a really positive impression with me. He's got a lot of experience working in the military, making decisions, leading people, etc. He knows a lot about foreign wars, which is a lot of our foreign policy. He's somebody who you could pick for Secretary of State. He's got some experience, even though it's not the complete circle. So there are people who advocate putting people into power. In Germany, they passed a law. I believe the law is that 40% of people serving on the board of a business have to be women. These people are not being picked because of their abilities. They're being picked for sexist reasons. It's a sexist law. It wasn't 50%, it was like 40%. And this was to make decisions for the company. In Argentina, they had Kirchner, and I don't know any of the laws that she did. Maybe, or if I did, I forgot them. But someone told me, yeah, since she came to power, she passes lots of feminist laws. I don't know what they were. I don't know. I don't remember. I had my own business, and I hired 150 employees. And the business isn't difficult. I trained people to do almost everything because I'm the one who had the knowledge. I wanted them to do the work that I knew how to do. I trained them to do it, and they did it. And most people were able to do those jobs because we had good training manuals. We had a good training program. Most people did it. We actually had one guy who failed, and what we did was we sat down with the people who were good, and we asked them, how do you fix his problems? And he went through all the problems he had, and they said, this is what we do to fix it. And we put it in the training manual, and his performance improved. I did hire people that were not 100% qualified for the jobs that I was hiring them for. For example, you hire a graphics artist who has limited experience, but that doesn't mean that I picked them over somebody else. It just means that I hired someone who I realized was not qualified, and it was a mistake. And I was like, I've been paying this person. The work is not being used. This person is not capable. I kind of knew it from the beginning. I gave this person a shot. Didn't work out. You don't want to do it. It hurts your business. You're paying money to someone who in this case gave me nothing in return. So don't put people in positions that they don't have qualifications for. And when you pick people, pick the most qualified person, not someone who has less qualifications. You should not be using gender, race, etc. as a determination for hiring someone. That's what affirmative action says you have to do. Affirmative action is wrong and should be prohibited. There's a possibility that they have reversed it. I'm not sure, but I know that there's something that did happen where people are starting to reject it. Universities use it for acceptance, and universities are acknowledging that they're against affirmative action because they're admitting students who don't meet qualifications, and they're rejecting students who are qualified, who would be better students at their universities. They want to have good students because good students are going to enter programs where they're doing, for example, research that are going to earn grants and money from the federal government or for private business that will be paid to the school. So schools have an incentive to have students that are more intelligent and perform better. So do businesses. My business failed. It failed because of employee performance. There was 1 month when I asked my employees to do something that they didn't want to do for an ideological reason that I did. And it cost me $30,000. It was in South America where the wages are lower than the United States. It affected like 30 people. They refused to work. I noticed that they weren't doing any work. Someone had told me that they were not going to do the work. They said that, he said, don't do this work, he'll give up, and we'll move on to something else. And I gave up and I fired them is what happened. And I had to fire a lot of people. And I was like, I can't believe I just spent $30,000 and got nothing out of it while I'm struggling to turn the company profitable. And in the end, my employees were a lot of them were hostile. I gave them jobs. I trained them. I was always nice to them. I bought them food. I paid for other things for them. I threw parties for them, Christmas party. The list goes on, and they didn't like me for weird reasons. And I'm not the type of person who goes around bothering people. I didn't do the training. I trained my managers, and my managers trained the staff, and we had training guides. And I was off hands with my employees, except once a day. I would make the rounds. I would go to everybody, say, what are you working on today? What problems do you have? I say, oh, you need to change this. This word is wrong over here. Spend a few minutes with every employee. I didn't do it throughout the whole 2 or 3 years, but I did it on a regular basis just to make sure that things were working smoothly. But that was the majority of my interaction with my employees. And every time I did anything, I did it with fairness. It had to be random. We would use a deck of cards, and people would have to pick cards so that it was random, so that they knew that I wasn't assigning them to work with people that they didn't want to work with. It was all done randomly so that they wouldn't blame me, and they blamed me for everything. And when I hired psychologists to go in and interview them, and it was because they weren't being paid enough money. They wanted more than the minimum wage, but then I'd have to fire people. That's what you have to do. So don't believe anyone that tells you that you should hire someone to make a political statement, or someone who's not qualified, or because someone is a certain gender or a certain race. It's nonsense. These people will fail at what you want them to do. And I guarantee you, all these companies that are successful, Amazon, Facebook, eBay, did it by hiring people that were qualified.